Cops mistakenly arrest black lady at a cinema, unaware her partner is a police captain. What would you do if you were wrongfully accused in a public place, surrounded by people who just stared? What if the ones accusing you were officers with authority, and they had no idea who was about to walk in? Alana had planned this night for weeks. She just wanted a quiet evening at the movies, nothing more. She'd grabbed her favorite snacks and found the perfect seat. But as she settled in, a feeling crept up her spine. She couldn't shake the sensation that someone was watching her, studying her. She scanned the theater, and that's when she saw them. 2 uniformed officers at the theater entrance, their eyes fixed on her. Her heart raced. Why were they looking at her like that? Before she could make sense of it, the officers began walking toward her. One of them, a tall man with a stern look, stepped right up to her row and motioned for her to come out. "Ma'am, we need you to come with us," he said, his tone cold and commanding. Confused, Alana looked around, hoping someone else would catch his attention. But no, his eyes were locked on her. "Excuse me? What's this about?" she asked, her voice steady, though her pulse was racing. But instead of answering, the officer reached for her arm, pulling out handcuffs. "We've had reports of a disturbance, and you match the description," he said without a hint of hesitation. "What would you do if this happened to you? What if no one around you spoke up or questioned it?" Alana felt the cold metal close around her wrists. She was stunned. "Wait, there's got to be some mistake. I haven't done anything wrong," she protested, but her words seemed to fall on deaf ears. People in the theater were watching, some even recording on their phones, but not a single person intervened. Imagine the humiliation. Alana's mind was racing, her heart pounding with every unjust accusation. She felt both anger and fear bubbling up inside. "You're making a mistake," she insisted, trying to stay calm. "I don't know what you think I did, but I'm just here to see a movie." The officers only tightened their grip. "We'll figure that out at the station," one of them said dismissively, steering her toward the theater exit. "What if this were you? Would you stay silent, or would you shout for help?" As they walked through the lobby, Alana felt helpless, her voice drowned out by the officer's authority. But just as they reached the door, she caught sight of a familiar face. It was her partner, Officer Marcus Gray, dressed in plain clothes, but with the unmistakable bearing of a police captain. He had come to surprise her and join her for the movie, not expecting anything unusual. When Marcus saw Alana in handcuffs, shock and anger flashed across his face. "Excuse me," he called out, striding toward the officers with an intensity that made them freeze. "What's going on here?" The officers looked at each other, clearly taken aback. They hadn't expected someone to question their actions, especially not someone with the presence of a senior officer. One of them spoke up, trying to maintain his authority. "Sir, this woman is being detained for questioning," he said, glancing at Marcus with a hint of defensiveness. Marcus raised an eyebrow, his eyes cold and piercing. "And what exactly has she done to warrant being handcuffed in public?" he asked, his voice steely. "How would you feel if someone finally stood up for you? How would you react if you were in Marcus's shoes, watching this unfold?" The officer stammered, realizing he was losing control of the situation. We had a report about a disturbance and she fit the description," he said, sounding less sure of himself with each word. Marcus folded his arms, his tone dangerously calm. "And did you have any evidence? Any witnesses who could confirm she was involved, or did you decide she looked suspicious because of her skin color?" The officers exchanged a nervous glance. Marcus wasn't just asking questions, he was demanding accountability. "What would you do if you were these officers, now realizing they might have made a terrible mistake?" One officer cleared his throat, shifting uncomfortably. "Sir, we were just following up on a report. It's standard procedure." "Standard procedure?" Marcus repeated, his voice laced with disbelief. "I don't recall standard procedure involving assumptions based on appearance." He stepped closer, his voice lowering to a warning. "Now, I suggest you remove those handcuffs from my partner before this escalates into something far more serious. What would you do if you were in Alana's place, finally being defended but still feeling the sting of humiliation?" The officers hesitated, clearly conflicted. They hadn't known that Alana's partner was a high-ranking officer, let alone a police captain. But even now, faced with their error, pride seemed to hold them back. Finally, the lead officer muttered, "Fine," and removed the cuffs from Alana's wrists, his face reddening. Alana rubbed her wrists, the red marks visible, a painful reminder of the ordeal she'd just endured. She looked at Marcus, her eyes filled with both gratitude and frustration. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, reaching out to touch her shoulder. She nodded, though her voice was shaky. I don't understand why this happened." Marcus turned to the officers, his voice firm. "I hope you'll be more careful in the future. It's actions like these that create distrust between the community and law enforcement." He paused, letting his words sink in. "Consider this a lesson. Next time, do better." How would you feel if you were the officers, realizing the gravity of your actions too late? As the officers left, Alana and Marcus stood together in the lobby, surrounded by silent onlookers who had witnessed the entire scene. Some looked away, embarrassed for not speaking up. Others whispered, still processing the drama that had just unfolded. Alana took a deep breath, the weight of the experience finally hitting her. "I just wanted a normal night out," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus wrapped his arm around her. "I know, and I'm so sorry you had to go through that. But you're not alone, remember that." They walked out of the theater together, the tension slowly easing. But as they left, Alana couldn't help but wonder if this was truly over, or just another painful reminder of how much work there was still to be done. What would you do after experiencing something like this? Would you move forward, or would the memory linger, a reminder of the world's imperfections? So now, I ask you, the viewers, what would you do if you were in Alana's place? Would you forgive and move on, or would you demand change? Let us know in the comments.